Focus today turns to who shot down Malaysia Airlines Flight 17 and why. President Obama called the crash an outrage. He said evidence suggests the plane was shot down by a surface-to-air missile and that it was fired from an area controlled by Russian-backed separatists inside the Ukraine. 298 people died.
This was a global tragedy. An Asian airliner was destroyed in European skies filled with citizens from many countries. So there has to be a credible international investigation into what happened. The UN Security Council has endorsed this investigation, and we will hold all its members, including Russia, to their word.
One American was on board. So were 108 AIDS activists and researchers and health workers on their way to a major conference in Australia. Now, with all those researchers on the plane, the InFocus team wanted to know what this means for AIDS research, so we brought in one of the best. Dr. William Blattner is the Associate Director of the Institute of Human Virology at the University of Maryland School of Medicine. Doctor, thanks so much for coming in. Sorry about your loss, because I know you know some of the people that were attending.
Yes, we do.
What was your reaction when you heard about it?
When I received the email yesterday from my colleagues at Johns Hopkins who had heard from the lab in Amsterdam, it was just a raw emotion of heartbreak. And it reminded me of the loss of Mary Lou Clemens and Jonathan Mann a few years ago, but this was much worse because it was an attack. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just an accident.
You know, one of the things the president said earlier today was that this was a group of people who dedicated their lives to helping people that they didn't even know.
Exactly, and this morning I was trying to contact some of my colleagues who were traveling from my group, leaving from Africa, because this year I wanted the young people, the young investigators, the people from the front lines to be there. And fortunately, they all were on different flights and made it okay. But the reports back from the meeting are just a sense of shock and disbelief.
Mm-hmm. Tell me why this conference is so important.
Well, the HIV epidemic is the worst in the history of mankind, and it's still going on. It's a team effort. And this particular conference is so important because it brings together basic scientists, clinical scientists, public health scientists, activists, all together in the same place, in the same room, to address the epidemic in a holistic way. And that's so important when you're dealing with a disease that disenfranchises people, where stigma is such an important thing. Bringing the clinicians, the researchers together with the people who are impacted and affected is very important to driving the dedication that our colleagues who lost their lives on the plane were so dedicated to.
Concerned now about what impact this could have maybe down the road in terms of research, because I know a doctor, was it Dr. Lang?
Yes.
30 years in the industry, researching.
Yeah, he and I go back to really the beginning of the epidemic. He was just finishing his medical education. I was at NIH, and we saw one of the first cases of AIDS ever seen. And then I worked closely with Dr. Gallo's lab on the co-discovery of the virus, and he was right there all along and made such important contributions, but particularly he was a person who was an advocate for making therapy available to the people in Africa and around the world who otherwise were dying. And he was always at the front lines of advocacy. He never shirked from that leadership role. I mean, it's hard being at the point of the spear. And when you lose someone with his courage, with his perspective, it just has huge impacts.
Dr. Blattner, thank you so much for coming in, and we'll keep everyone in our thoughts and prayers, and hopefully we'll get to some resolution as to why this happened. And
I hope so. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor.